new difference between Korean and Vietnamese. I found seven differences between Korean and Vietnamese language. And nowadays, I found out one more. It's very important because of this is about pronunciation and complicated words. So I found out that tones are very important. The tone, six tones in Vietnamese and not Korean. And Korean language has no tones. Only some uh, same word, two meaning, just a few words though. But um, Vietnamese words have six tones. So what a difference between six tones and no tones? Let's guess about 1,000 words here. 1,000 words with six tones. And it means there are 6,000 words in Vietnamese. At the same time, and the Korean words almost 6,000 words as well. So Vietnamese people change it 1,000 words to 6,000 words by pronounce with the tones. So, and they are familiar with the sound. Their pronounce and the sound is very delicate. They are delicate in the sound. Otherwise, Korean should know about 6,000 words each with 6,000. So, and then Korean people know about many vocabulary, and also they handle the vocabulary with the meaning of the vocabulary. So what a difference between Vietnamese people and Korean people. Vietnamese people are good at speaking, listening, speaking very differently with 1,000 words to 6,000 words. The Korean people summarize in 6,000 words, and then they use well the many vocabulary. By doing that, there's some difference between each other. And Vietnamese people are good at pronunciation, some with the sound. And Korean people knowing about many words and then assembled the words and highly difference between. Let's guess when Korean learn Vietnamese or Vietnamese people learn Korean. This is quite different. Like me, when I learned Vietnamese, I totally frustrated in pronunciation in Vietnamese words. Even though I struggle now, I try to listen, I try to speak in good pronunciation, but still at a lower level in listening and speaking with good pronunciation. The reason why I found out that reason because it's very delicate in pronunciation, Vietnamese words, because Vietnamese people are good at pronounce six tones, and then with you catching the sound in their community, in their from birth to the linguistic culture or linguistic background. So I should know about it, and then I follow that. And also, I should be, if I want to communicate with the people, Vietnamese people in Vietnamese language, I should know about delicate sound so with the six tones. And then, so there's a benefit. I don't have to memorize 5,000 words, then only 1,000 words. Then I practice six tones with it. This is a little fair. Let's think about the Vietnamese people who learn Korean. they should, the same condition, they should learn vocabulary a lot. They should learn vocabulary a lot. Otherwise, they don't care about pronunciation, unlike Vietnamese. Normally, when they speak Korean, if they know about 6,000 words, they speak Korean. And Korean people understand what they are speaking because the reason why 6,000 words are different each. But in Vietnamese, 6,000 words, a group of words, not different, a little similar, very delicate. This is what I found out, the difference of the six tones and not tones, but and Korean. There are so many vocabulary with the same level. Uh, in Vietnamese, the pronunciation is very delicate. So, and then it's a relatively, um, when we learn it, the languages, we should know about the difference, what we should focus on. But the improving listening is the same. I think it's Korean people, it takes more time for Korean people to pronounce it properly in Vietnamese than Vietnamese people. But uh, knowing about vocabulary, the Vietnamese people was more take time to summarize knowing about vocabulary in Korean. So Korean also very changeable formed vocabulary in many ways. So it's fine. The language is quite different. So what I'm interested in two difference of between Korean and Vietnamese. Then now I found out the difference. Then I understand about six tones, why I cannot listen and then why I cannot speak in good pronunciation. So I found out, I realized I can change, I can practice, I can improve listening skill and speaking in pronunciation in Vietnamese. In English, it may contextual of how different between Korean and Vietnamese, especially Vietnamese language. Vietnamese words have six tones, and Korean no six tones. And so 1,000 words with tones 6,000 words, and Korean 6,000 words. So and Vietnamese people who learn Korean, they should memorize more vocabulary. Otherwise, Korean people who learn Vietnamese, they should practice pronunciation delicately and from six tones. And after proofreading it, man, what can I get it? Difference between Korean and Vietnamese language focus on tone, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Tones in Vietnamese process, no tones in Korean. Yeah, okay. Translate into Korean and Vietnamese above. I will copy the contents that I should review. Uh, let's see. This is a very important fact about Korean and Vietnamese. Certainly, there's a clear, well-structured English explanation based on your idea about the difference between Korean and Vietnamese languages, focusing especially on tone, vocabulary, pronunciation, and language learning challenges. Difference between Korean and Vietnamese language focus on tone, vocabulary, and pronunciation. When comparing Korean and Vietnamese, one of the most important difference lies in the role of tones in the Vietnamese language versus the lack of tones in Korean. Tones in Vietnamese versus no tones in Korean. Vietnamese is a tonal language with six distinct tones. Each tone changes the meaning of a word, and even if the pronunciation of the tone on each consonant and vowel is the same, for example, a single Vietnamese syllable can have six different meanings depend on its tone. This means that approximately 1,000 Vietnamese root words can transform into about 6,000 different words through tonal variation. In contrast, the Korean is not a tonal language. The meaning of Korean words generally does not depend on pitch or tone. Instead, Korean has a large vocabulary with many words, but they are pronounced without tone distinction. Korean learners memorize around 6,000 individual words each with a fixed pronunciation meanings. Implication for language learner. For Vietnamese speakers learning Korean, they must memorize a large number of words. Both Korean relies on a wide vocabulary to convey meaning. There are no tones to help differentiate words, so vocabulary size is key. On the other hand, Korean speakers learning Vietnamese face a different challenge. Mastering six tone and delicate pronunciations of Vietnamese tones require learners to finely tune their listening and speaking skills because the meaning changes drastically with tone. This makes pronunciation and listening comprehension more difficult for Korean learners or Vietnamese. Vocabulary and pronunciation comparison. Vietnamese learners of Korean they may find vocabulary memorization demanding because they must learn many unique words without tone cues. Foreigners of Vietnamese, they often struggle with the pronunciation of tone, which are familiar and complex, even if the vocabulary is similar when considering based words. Personal experience and reflection. Many Korean learners, including myself, find Vietnamese pronunciation particularly frustrating at first. Listening and speaking with the correct tone is difficult because it requires a delicate ear and the precise vocal control. Vietnamese speakers are naturally familiar with these tones from birth and their cultural environment, which gives them an advantage in pronunciation. However, Vietnamese learners do not need to worry as much about tonal pronunciation when learning Korean, but they need to expand their vocabulary substantially. Summary of the main difference aspect, Vietnamese Korean, consistent, six tones, tone change meaning, no tones, meaning fixed to vocabulary size, 1,000 base words is six times tones, 6,000 words is 6,000 individual words, and the pronunciation purpose is very delicate tone mastery needed. Pronunciation, simple no tones. Learning challenge, master tone and the pronunciation. Memorize, realize vocabulary. Final thought. Understanding this tone or difference to help explain why Vietnamese learners must memorize the main Korean word, while Korean learners need to practice tones and pronunciation carefully. When learning Vietnamese, both languages have their unique complexity, but knowing what proper vocabulary or tone can guide effective learning first. Yeah, I talk about the difference of between Korean and Vietnamese with tones or not, and okay. So learning foreign language is not easy, but we should know about the difference. Then we can be smart in learning foreign language.